still waiting? Are we still waiting for the others? Are we still waiting for the others, or I think I saw Jean Christophe over there. No, I don't know. You tell me. Yeah, Jean Christophe is there and Joachim is there.
I think he doesn't know we're already.
Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. Quando si siedono possiamo cominciare. So that. Good evening and welcome to the Q&A of the competition entry Essential Truths of the Lake by Laf Diaz. It is a pleasure to have here at the table with us tonight the director, writer, editor, and co-cinematographer Laf Diaz, the actor John Lloyd Cruz, the actress Shaina Magdayao, the actress, assistant director, and production manager Hazel Orencio. Wow. The producers Bradley Liu and Bianca Balbuena. And the co-producers Jean-Christophe Simon and Joachim Sapinho. Lav, this morning at the press conference, you said this, even though the character of Lieutenant Pavauran was introduced in a previous film that takes place later in his life, When the Waves Are Gone, you said that this film here wasn't a prequel, but less of a prequel, but more of a different installment in his life, in the style of James Bond. Why the motivation to explore this character further, which I don't believe you've done in your previous films?
No, we were just shooting, and during the post-production, I realized there are 3 films there. So there are 3 stories inside it. There's another installment coming. We're just finishing some scenes. So you'll be seeing 3 films out of this Papawaran saga.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about you, John Lloyd? Do you have a particular attachment to this character?
Attachment?
To the character, a particular one?
Yeah. Maybe not to the character, maybe to the director. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, like if I'm not to attend to his invitation, like it kind of takes a toll on me. Yeah, because it's always an experience. Not just the character, the whole thing. We're all filmmakers in the set, no, direct.
Yeah.
So you get to have that privilege. You get to be part of his intention. So, yeah.
And regarding the character, it's surprising in political cinema, but especially in the context of something as like the Duterte's drug war, to see a representation of a sympathetic policeman, or rather a sympathetic representation of a policeman. And I was wondering, why was it important to bring in this nuance towards this character?
It's also important to look at the other side of this entity, the police. There are so many good policemen. I was a bit reporter when I was young. So I was assigned to so many, beat stations where I just reported, petty crimes in the country. And there are so many good policemen. There are bad policemen, but it's always that, So I want to show that side as well. That we have good policemen in the country. And the worst policeman was, of course, Duterte. And previous to him, Marcos, of course.
Shaina, I wonder if you could follow up from what John Lloyd said about collaborating with Lav, because also it's now your fourth feature that you've shot with Lav, I believe. Fifth.
Yeah. We don't know anymore.
You don't know anymore.
It's I think it's my fifth. Yes.
14.
Well, that's true with what John Lloyd said. I always say that he is like a mentor, but also he gives you enough freedom to be a collaborator. He gives you freedom, but also respects your space as an artist. And I enjoy his process. That I always say that I learn from him, and I also learn with him. And I do not just work for him, but I also work with him.
And you, Hazel, have been a comrade in arms for much, much longer, and your collaboration is really quite unique. And maybe if someone isn't familiar with the background, could you give us some insight about the extent and nature of your collaboration over the years?
I worked with him for like 12 years already. And during those 12 years, I've evolved from an actress to assistant director and then production manager. At one time, I was also a production designer for him. But it goes for everyone, every part of our crew. He gives freedom to choose what you want to do. You know, you have to find yourself and find yourself in those jobs, and what job do you really like to do. So I think that's what happened, but eventually I ended up being actress / assistant director / production manager. So there.
I don't know if there's any questions from the audience. You can raise your hand. Oh, there's one over there. Wait for a microphone. There's a microphone there.
I heard that.
Now it's better. I have a question about the film material you used this time, because I think I recognized you used digital at the beginning, and at the end it comes the more grainy, the old-fashioned movie material. Was it for purpose, or did you...
We used 16mm in the last part.
16mm.
But we shot that last part earlier than the first part of the film.
Ah, that's why,
So,
okay.
yeah. If you've seen When the Waves Are Gone, it should be part of When the Waves Are Gone, but I think it's not, appropriate to put that there, so I put it here. So yeah, 16mm. When the Waves Are Gone, it was shot in 16mm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
the
you.
grain is, there's that soul, silhouette, you see that, it's beautiful, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. It really is totally beautiful. Yeah.
It's different, yeah. It has that kind of thing. You go back to the nature of cinema.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah.
In fact, yesterday I watched Oppenheimer, and it's the same thing. He shot on 35mm, and you really see the difference between real grain film material and the digital. How to say, the more smooth way of filming, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's already there. You have the choice now to which medium do you want to use. Digital.
Yeah, I guess.
You go back to 16, you go back to Super 8 to 35 or 70mm, or even a cell phone. It's okay now.
Yeah.
Cinema is so open now. You can use anything.
You can use everything to express yourself.
Yeah, just as long as you're careful, you know what you're doing, and you want to be part of the real process of cinema. It's not just image making or what.
Yeah.
Cinema is a very, very unique discipline.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there further questions from the audience? In the front.
I'm just wondering, why is he crying at the end? Is the young lady dead who took care of him at the end? Or is it free to interpretation why he would be why he would be crying?
It's the gamut of humanity's guilt. The woman is the mother of the thief, the young thief, and you have your own interpretation there. It is papauran, not just carrying the cross of humanity, his own pain as well, and the pain of the woman. It's everything. Yeah, it's a very human, situation, where you just let it flow. Yeah. It just happened. It's a random thing, but it's all about us, our soul. Yeah.
Further questions? Thank you.
You can ask questions.
Sure.
Yeah, me again.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
It's not so much as a question, as more not about the movie in special, but more on a broader topic. I don't know if you want to answer it, but okay,
We'll try.
okay. What
There's
is
like how many of us?
Yeah.
are there?
okay?
Yeah.
Since I watched about every movie of you, and I really feel that you really want to change the minds of the Philippine people. You really want to change them and give them a broader side, and tell them that they should learn more and stuff like this. What was your feeling in the last election? Wasn't it a big punch, in your stomach? When you see that the son of Marcos is now the big president,
yeah.
that must. I will think when I read in the news, I was thinking, what would Love Diaz say now? It would say, "Oi, what's happening?"
What would you say, Bianca? Yeah, it's a big debacle. Truly a big debacle in our culture to go back to that abyss. Just the fact that we have the Marcoses back in power again is something. It says a lot about us Filipinos, how we just lied to this abyss of just being retrogressive, and just going backwards. It's this wall of ignorance that's eating us up. So it's a problem. It's a big embarrassment to have the Marcoses back. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. All right.
I mean, it's like in the scene in the movie when you were stating that the Duterte regime was putting back the Philippines years and years and years.
Yeah.
How much more with Marcos now?
The Marcos is back as the result of Duterte's rehabilitating them.
Yeah, he was
He's part of that,
Yeah, he lies on the
practically
heroes.
put them back in power,
I mean,
that motherfucker, Duterte. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Marcos is lying now in the Heroes Cemetery. That's insane.
yeah,
That's
it's-
totally insane.
It will take years and years for the Filipino soul to regenerate after the Duterte regime. It's
Yeah.
just 6 years, but it's hundreds of years of going back to the abyss
Yeah,
of nothingness for us.
yeah, it's really a shame.
Yeah.
But he is really controlling the minds with TikTok, social
that's
media,
the populist
fake
way. You have
news.
Trump, you have Assad,
Yeah.
you have Putin, you have all these motherfuckers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah. What's there?
But it's populism is with us, so maybe we can do something about it as well. Let's rethink our way of dealing with this kind of ideologies. So it's more of understanding history again. Why we always go back to this? We slide and slide. Maybe there's something there. We should examine it. That's why we should confront history always. Yeah. Yeah, it should be always dialectical in a way. We examine it. Maybe we're wrong in how we perceive things, or in the praxis of changing things. Maybe there's something wrong there. Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We are also struggling to show When the Waves Are Gone in the Philippines because our country is instilled or run by fear. So a lot of the cinemas don't want to be involved in showing When the Waves Are Gone, which was released a few months after the election, right, in Venice. So all the more, but you know, this restriction, I would say, makes us value the cinema of love more because it's a cinema, as I've always said, it's a cinema of resistance. And especially now that we are in a country or in a world run by fear, we need to resist. And this is what why we keep working with love, because he reminds us of what we're fighting for.
Since we've broached this topic, maybe could you give us some idea of the kind of contributions or the kind of role within the discourse that Love's cinema has in the Philippines? What the kind of conversations it has brought up?
Punk rock is back. No, it's a struggle to create discourse, especially in a setup like not just in the Philippines, just Southeast Asia or some other part of the world. It's a discourse on the human condition is always very, very, difficult. You think of the conditions of people. You think of how to create a greater discourse. Then it's very hard. You don't do the easy fix. It's gonna be a slow process as well. You don't rush things. If you rush things, then there's nothing as well.
Mm-hmm. And does John...
You just present something for this course. Like in cinema, we know that we can't do much. It's just a very small part of the greater discourse. Mm-hmm. In culture, it is that. You just put a responsible work, and maybe it can create something, a more Socratic way of doing it. It will be there, and people at some point will react, and they will be affected, and they can do some reactions to it, or some inputs on how to do things the better way.
And I wonder, since you've started working with John Lloyd several features ago, whether because of his status in the culture in Philippines, whether that has helped the dialogue, whether you've noticed a difference in that regard?
What? Is it the question is for me?
To either of you, whether, because you're a very big star, as I understand it, in the Philippines, John Lloyd?
I used to be.
You used to be.
I used to be a star, but I had to dim my light to accommodate moral struggles. But really, from my end, we have this trend. You're popular on TV, so you get to be popular also in movies. But after 2 decades of being popular and doing the same thing over and over and over, like 20 years of income-driven engagements, you tend to. That's the problem with learning something or knowledge. It's irreversible. Once you see the conflict or you see an opportunity, it's hard to deny it. That's why I was saying earlier that if because before coming here, Direk Love invited me to be part of another film, but I couldn't make it, and I couldn't attend to my duties to Love's cinema, and that's how I see it. It's a duty. Like there are also existing struggles, like in the context of me with my family, because most of them don't really understand my choices. So like it's in that level also. It is also real. Like me trying to explain to my parents, they're in their 70s, Um, it's very difficult, and imagine explaining it to all the Filipinos what we're trying to do here. But Direct Love also, well, unknowingly for sure, teaches us how to be patient with sharing your knowledge, giving them time to process it, or wait for the proper opportunity for them also, because different folks, different strokes. So yeah, like those are my thoughts with what you asked.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the audience? There's one here. We'll get the mic to you.
I'm just wondering how your films like this one is being accepted at home in the Philippines, and if there are no censors from the government, or how are the common people taking it in? Is it being shown freely at home in the Philippines, or are there censors?
You can share it. You can share it, yeah.
I hate to mic grab, but go ahead. One of the reasons why, ma'am, are you a Filipino?
Yes.
Oh, glad to meet you, ma'am.
It just happened very recently.
Yeah, very recently. One of the reasons why I jumped, not I jumped from the plane, but I jumped to my flight is because one of the earlier collaborations we did was supposed to be like an opening film of a local festival back home. But then, to put it bluntly, they got afraid of all the congressmen giving them funds. Yeah, we did a beautiful film called Servando Magdamag, written by none other than Ricky Lee, a national artist back home. And I don't know how to process it. It's this local festival is connected to the cultural center of the Philippines.
Cultural center of the Philippines.
You do the math, ma'am.
The censor, they pulled it as the opening film because they're afraid they won't get the money, the funding for the next edition of the festival. So it's sad that it's happening in the very cultural center of the Philippines. So it is like that. It's very hard to find venues in the country where we can show the films because the cinemas are controlled by some syndicate, the multiplexes. Yeah, and we can only show it in some underground cinemas, little cinemas, but also dying. They're gone. So sometimes we show them freely. June 12 we show films freely in YouTube. Some students will ask for links, we give the links. Some professors will ask for the links, we give it to the professors for the students. It is like that. It's just sharing the films because we don't have the venue. We don't have a support from the system. Even from cultural institutions like the Cultural Center of the Philippines. It's hard. No, we cannot show them. They want Batman, Superman, and Oppenheimer.
Well, when the waves are gone, the previous film that went to Venice, it was screened in a local film festival called Q Cinema, which we really appreciated because they were very brave to show it. Especially, we were naming names in that previous film. So we're hoping to show this film again in the same festival in October. And maybe this time, when we approach commercial theaters, they'll be more open to showing it because it wasn't the case last year.
Hopefully, they'll be open. It is that kind of situation in the country. The default is like, oh, you make all those films for Europe and for the festivals, but they don't check that our system is so faulty. We don't have theaters to show the films. The system is not helping us. It's very hard to show the films. There are more than 200 Filipino films every year, and so many good films from young people, and we cannot show them in theaters, in cinemas. It's only the festivals, the film festivals abroad. And they thought us like, oh, you make films for the festivals abroad. No, we cannot show them here in the country. There's no help.
can I just add that how crazy it is that the film When the Waves Are Gone, the previous film that we did, is going to be shown in theaters in France, where we haven't shown it in theaters in our own country, and the film is supposed to be for our countrymen. So that's really sad.
Do we have other questions?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You wanna end
Pero
on a
di ba
happy
ma'am,
note?
laban lang. Laban lang.
It's a happy note. Yeah, we keep on making films. Don't worry, man. We keep fighting in our own small way, on our own terms. So, tutuloy po natin lahat. Don't worry. Yeah.
Can we talk about the location of the film in Tal? Can you tell us about this location, about your motivation to go there?
It's very near Manila actually. It's 2 hours, 3 hours away. There's a province called Batangas in the middle part of Luzon Island. And there's this beautiful lake, and the name of the lake is Taal Volcano.
Mhm.
The name of the lake is Taal as well. So yeah, when we were doing the pre-production for When the Waves Are Gone, suddenly there's Taal, erupting after 50 years, and it was very, very destructive, very devastating. So after a week, we went there to start, and it was that last part of the film.
Mhm.
You see the dust, the asphalt, the mud. Yeah. It's an urgency. For me, if nature gives you that, then use it.
Mhm. So you shot the second part, the last part first, and then you shot the beginning part
Yes,
later.
yes,
You
yes.
filled the story.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the Philippine eagle is the national bird of the Philippines. So obviously there is a strong symbolic reason for having it in the film. But those campaigns that Esmeralda Stewart is engaged in, all the activism, is there a real life equivalent or a reference
Yes.
you're doing referencing
Yes.
there?
The Philippine eagle is the second biggest bird in the world. If it spreads like 12 feet, it's really huge and it's becoming extinct. And through the years, there are institutions and private groups. They're trying to protect the bird. It's in the island of Mindanao. They have a sanctuary there in Mount Apo, and there are like a few left, so they're trying to protect it and trying to how do you call that? Because it's very hard to protect it. They only hatch one egg a year, and it's really hard. And they need vast forests, and the forest is just dwindling and dwindling. There's nothing left for them.
Mhm.
They're big animals. They need food. So their sanctuary is getting smaller and smaller, and so it's dangerous. Yeah. And they become extinct.
Mhm. Any questions from the audience? So When the Waves Are Gone takes place during the drug war, and this one also starts that way, but then you make a big jump back. And I was wondering if there was a specific significance to 2005, why you jump back to that, and then you cover the time period in between.
I think it's all. What happened in the film? It's all contemporary. It happened from the Taal volcano eruption and before that. So it's the Duterte period only. It's 2016 up to early 2020 when the volcano erupted early 2020, January 12, 13 of 2020, and that's where the film ended after that. Yeah. But you see in the film that they kept talking about the 15 years of the cold case.
And this idea of the cold case, this is kind of a staple of like the police genre of film noir. This is something you've done in your previous films as well, to use genre. What is it about the aspect of genre that you find useful in your filmmaking?
I didn't think about genre in the film, but it's just they came handy. It's a detective, investigative thing, so immediately there's the attribute of the genre. The film noir and the detective stories of Hollywood. I'm very much influenced by that. Of course, it's always there.
Do we have time for one more question if someone wants? to ask a question before we close? At the back. Due. Abbiamo tempo per due?
Perhaps a question about the aesthetic or the creative process the film went from. Can you say, did you have a whole concept for in front of your eye, or is there improvisation? So when you shot the film, which is the relation between concept and plan and improvisation?
It's all of those. There's concept here. There's a plan as well, but mostly it's just creating a narrative, creating characters in a way, and the so-called aesthetic comes when you're doing it in the process. Like the idea of 16mm came like just an accident. I was talking to a friend, filmmaker, and he told me, "Love, there's a 16mm sitting in my table. Do you want to use 16mm in your next film?" The idea came. So suddenly there's this concept of going back to the nature of cinema. It might be good. So I texted Bianca, can we do 16mm? And she said yes. So then we started. So suddenly my gaze shifted on that. The idea that I can go back to 16mm. And we didn't know that it was so hard to make 16mm now. Yeah, Brad started looking for 16mm rolls in America, in Japan, and we found a very cheap laboratory in Romania, of all places, because we don't have a laboratory already in the Philippines that exists. It's gone, and we were shooting in the middle of the pandemic, and we were sending the rolls to Romania, and we don't know what's gonna happen to these rolls until they tell you, oh, it's here, and we're digitizing the film. That's the only time where you can breathe. It's still not a relaxing thing because you don't know what happened to the footage as well, because we always hear strange things in the camera, and there's only one living loader in the country. There's so many problems. The loader, the one who puts the roll in the camera. There's only one living loader in the Philippines. Out of the 114 million Filipinos, there's only one loader left. And he's sick with diabetes now. What's going to happen with 16mm in the country? Yeah. There's an urgency to teach people to load cinema again, to load how to use camera, the nature of cinema again. We have to go back. We have to protect this heritage of cinema as well.
Okay, we have one more.
Nangugustuhan ko magsalita ng Tagalog, but my Tagalog is still very bad to say something. So I would say it in English. Actually, no question, just a small thank you for the nice movie and for your contribution to human rights on Earth.
Yeah, it's a small contribution.
Yeah, but go on fighting silently, but keeping fighting.
Thank you.
Thank you to the film team for the film and for the discussion, and thank you all for coming. Good evening to everyone.
Thank you.